Good.
All right. Hey
We're back
guys,
at
I'm
it.
Matt Reed, Grace Community Church, and this is my friend Joel.
Hi, I'm in Ossipee.
That was awkward, Joel. We're in Philippians 4, last chapter of Philippians, verses
Yep.
1 through 9. Hey Joel, what are we going to do next? Any ideas?
I don't know. I think on the 10th we're gonna have a question night for our students.
That'd be cool.
Maybe you guys want to join us?
We'll have to talk about it later,
That'd
but
be kind of
that
fun.
sounds cool to me.
Yeah,
So,
it's cool.
I don't know.
It's cool to me.
Philippians chapter 4, verses 1 through 9. The first thing that really stands out to me, I don't know about you, Joel, is one, the names are a little hard to say, so I'm going to call them Yoda and the Sith, but that's not what they are. I plead with Yoda, and I plead with the Sith to agree with everyone. Yeah, good names, huh?
Yeah.
So I plead with Yoda and the Sith to agree with each other. Now, I don't think this necessarily means like we have to think exactly the same, but I do think it means, I don't know, what do you think, Joel? I think it means that we can be agreeable even when we disagree, that we can.
Yeah. Well, it says, mine says the same mind in the Lord. And yeah, I don't think it means we need to agree on every little thing, because we're never going to agree on every little thing. But I do think we need to, in the midst of our disagreements, we need to come together in peace and as
unity.
And unity. And as Paul talks about earlier, later, he's like, rejoice in the Lord always. I'll say again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. It's like, we need to be gentle. Other translations say reasonableness. So we need to be reasonable and gentle with each other. And I think a lot of times these two women are probably caught up in what they thought, what they think, what they wanted, and they were fighting for that. And I know when I fight for my own stuff, and when I think I'm right, and I think I'm impassioned about something, I'm not gentle or reasonable at times. I'm a little irrational, and that doesn't promote unity.
Fear. I think part of it comes with fear. When we're fearful, we respond out of fear, and that response isn't always the best response. It's not always a response of love or care. It's a response of protecting ourselves. If we are fearful about something, and we try to protect ourselves, but sometimes we respond in ways that just aren't helpful or beneficial.
Yeah, and when we're fearful, we tend to be anxious. And Paul says, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. It's like, when we're anxious, this is what we need to do. We need to come to God with all of these things, and with prayer, with petition, and with thanksgiving. We need to give these things to him and present them to him. And then he says, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Well, you want peace, you want peace, then you need to do these things. Come to the Lord. Don't be anxious. Pray.
Instead of being anxious, instead of being anxious, it says, finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right or pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. So don't focus on all this negative stuff that isn't good and this is bad or whatever, but focus on the good things. And think about these things.
Yeah, and I think Paul's given us two things to remind us. We have protection here. One is, when we do these things, and when we come to God, the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Jesus is going to guard us. He's going to protect us from those ancient thoughts. I was going to say anxious thoughts.
Yeah.
And which is awesome. But we also have the ability to take some ownership in this, in what we're putting in ourselves. I liken it to the garbage in, garbage out. You ever heard that?
Yep.
If we're putting junk in, then we're obviously going to get junk out. But when we fill our minds, if we fill it with junk and stuff that's causing us anxiety, we're not going to be able to have that peace. When we go online and we start scrolling through Instagram or Facebook or, other things full of just crap, because there's a lot of crap on there, and then we start comparing ourselves to others and what others are doing. and what others are saying and how they're treating people, and it's not always good, that can fill us with anxiety. And so we need to really be careful about what we are putting into our minds and what we are thinking about, so that we aren't in that place. And because you're right, when we get to that anxious place, a lot of times that's our fears. We look at our fears and we start doing things that aren't worthy of the gospel. And that's what Paul's been talking about, living a life worthy of the gospel. And
verse 9, he says, whatever you've learned or received or heard from me. So, a few weeks ago or last week or so, we talked about, follow me as I follow Christ. So Paul, is talking about following him as he follows Christ. Put it into practice and God's peace will be with you. So I think that kind of wraps it up. This whole section to me is about unity. That's key. Seeking God's peace, and through that we receive joy. We receive the joy of God.
And I love that. It does sort of wrap it up. It's like, look, you've seen this in me. You've seen the way that I've lived. So put it into practice. That I have peace in every situation. Paul says, I'm content, whether I have much or whether I have little. I am content. You've seen the peace in me, and so practice those things, and the God of peace will be with you too.
So I got to wrap this up. I have two little ones who decided to come and bomb the dig in and the Bible study that we're doing. So we will see you next week. I'll see you guys next week. Read this week Philippians 4, chapter 4, verses 1 through 9. And I'll talk with Joel later about this questions thing that he has on his mind.
All right.
See you guys
later. Bye.